Alright, hey guys, this is going to be a pretty short tutorial on how to add a player health system. So to get started, what we have to do is we have to go create a new blueprint. I actually created a blueprint already for us. This will be a class blueprint that's actor based, and I'm going to go into this. Alright, so in here, all I did was I made the default scene root, which is always there by default. And then I did add component and I added a cube in here because I just want to get this thing working. What I'm also going to add is I'm going to add a text renderer. And I'm going to display this text renderer right above our character. And the reason I'm doing this is I'm actually going to put the value for this player's health in this text bubble right here. Got it roughly the way I wanted to. I'm going to change the color a little bit, just because I like changing the color of things. Change how big it is by clicking the world scale. And there. I'm going to compile this and I'll have my text above the cube, above my enemy cube. Cool. So to get started with this player health system, or rather enemy health in this case, I'm going to do a few things. So the first thing I want to do is I want to make it so when I start this game, I want to set the enemy health to be a certain value. So I made a variable, call this variable enemy health, and I have an integer as the variable type, so it only displays whole numbers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this out, click set, because I want to set the enemy health to be a certain value on start. So I want to set this to be 100. So every time I start this game, the enemy's health will be on 100. Now what I'm also going to do is I'm actually going to set a way to display this text of 100 on the cube right here. So to do this, I'm going to select this text render, and I'm going to right click on this graph, and let's see if I can get a reference to this text render. If not, that's fine, because there's other ways to do this. Since I couldn't find get reference, I just drag this text render thing out from the components into here. Now let's see if we can get this working. I'm going to drag out and I'm going to type in set text, and when I do that, I made it so I set the text render to be whatever this output value is. Next thing I want to do is I want to connect this execution pin from the white output on enemy health to the white input execution pin on set text. Then I will drag this output value for the enemy health into value. Now when I compile this, I'm going to drag this enemies onto here, and it should be that when I press the play button, I will see this text change from text to be 100. Let's see what happens. So, as you can see, when I dragged it out on here, when I play the game, this text was automatically set to 100, just like it is in this blueprint. So, I'm going to stop that. Next, I want to actually start to add the health system in there. Sorry about that. So to do this, I am going to make it fairly simple. I have right here an event component where after you begin an overlap on a cube, which is basically after another actor touches this cube, it wants to set the enemy health to be whatever the enemy's health is. From there, we're going to drag out on this execution pin for integer, and I'm going to call this, I'm going to go minus int, because I want integer minus integer, and I'll subtract this by, I don't know, 25. I'll do 20, why not? So what this does is, after a component overlap with this object, it will set the enemy health to be whatever the enemy's health is from up here, then it's going to get that value and subtract it by 20. The output is going to be, you'll set the enemy health, and whatever this value is, that output will be the new current enemy health. Cool. And then I need to connect this pin to this pin to keep the flow of information going. From there, I will drag out on this pin here. Actually, no. From there, I will drag the text render out one more time, and I'm just going to make it display this information, the new information on the text render. So I will do again, set text, connect this here, connect this here, compile, and just for testing purposes, instead of having this begin on a overlap, I'm going to actually break this connection, and I'm going to just right click, I'm going to press the F key, and I'm going to create a keyboard. Actually, I press the G key, and I'm going to create a keyboard event. So when I press G, it should execute all of this stuff. So let's see if it does that. Everything is set the way I want it to. I'm going to press compile, and when I press play, when I press G, it is not doing anything, but that's probably because not that one. I need to set this to be that I'm actually playing the game. Oh, this is not working. So let's figure out why it's not working. Drag this to the right, drag this here. Cool. First thing, whenever something's not working, I like to just test it out by playing it alongside while the simulation's happening. So I'm looking to see if when I press this key right here, does it recognize that I'm pressing the key? It did not. Let's find out why. Let's try to make it this instead. That is not working. Oh, not a problem. We will get this working very shortly. So I will end this video and I will get this thing working very shortly, and then I'll come back. Alright, hey guys, I am back. So I figured out the solution. Apparently when I do the key button commands, it does not want to work. No idea why, but anytime I press the G key, it just said no. But when I added an overlap event, when I added a spear trigger, it decided to work. So we're just going to try and do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to add component, and I'm going to add a spear collision on this thing, and I'll name it triggered. I'll name it triggered. Now on this spear component, I'm going to scale this up to be 3 by 3 by 3. Just so it's a little bit bigger, then I can scale it a little bit down a little bit. And now, after you do that, you're on the details panel. You're going to scroll down till you see on component begin overlap. I'm going to click that little plus thing, and that adds an overlap event for this triggered. From there, it's the same thing we did before, where we connect the execution pin to the set, and I switched up things a little bit with this blueprint. So before, when we had this, we had it go from set enemy health. We had get the enemy health like so, and then from here we had to do the subtraction. So we connect this here, and then we would connect this pin to minus int. and I subtract this by about 20. Connected this to this, and this pin to this pin, and that's how we had it going. So I pressed compile, and I would just play this simulation to check and make sure it worked, and when I touch it, it works. What I did, while you guys were away, I just kind of made this simpler. Instead of getting the enemy's health that's up here from the get-go, and then subtracting it after you do that, I just decided I'm just gonna subtract it right after you get the enemy's health. So I did this, and then this, and connected. Then just made sure I subtracted the enemy health to be like that. Compiled, and when I press the play button, it will work just like it should work. So whenever the spear touches it, the box enemy takes 20% damage, or 20 damage. So cool. There's nothing really special about this. It's just different ways of doing things. The good thing about Unreal and just coding in general is there's multiple different ways to approach any given problem. So this is how you set up your basic enemy health system. But now I just want to show you guys one last thing, is how to get it so that when this first how to get this spear to drop down like it did, and then how to get it so when it drops down and touches this box, it does something. So what I did here is I'm going to actually try and set this to default. I'm going to make this window a little bit larger so you guys can see it. So the first thing I did was I added a spear from the basic over here, and I just put it to be high so it can gain a little bit momentum. Now to make it actually react to the normal forces of gravity, if you scroll down under physics, you'll see a button called simulate physics. If you do that, when you press the play, and I'm just playing a simulation right now, you'll see that it goes down. But you notice it didn't do anything when it hit that box like it did before. That's because you need to actually add a collision detector to detect if the simulation hits something, it will trigger. And there's also, I will also check generate overlap event. But first I'm just gonna play this. And yep, that didn't work like I thought it would, because you need to also generate an overlap event for this thing here. When you do that, it works. So whenever that spear hits it, it will trigger something. So that's basically it with this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. See ya.